Welcome to Beyond the Nudge, the podcast for women over 50 who are ready to grow joyfully, take action with ease, and fully step into their age of empowerment with joy, grace, and ease. I'm your host, Kia Eileen, and this is your invitation to go beyond the whispers of intuition, dive deeply into your potential, and create the life and impact that you have always dreamed of. Expect monthly themes, and our theme this month is Love Without Limits, transformative insights, powerful frameworks, and practical tools to help you reconnect with your purpose, overcome challenges, and align with your most radiant self. And because I believe wisdom grows in community, I will occasionally be joined by incredible guest speakers, women like you, with inspiring stories, expert insights, and life changing strategies to share. So, here's what's in store: practical wisdom, actionable tools and frameworks from the world of spirituality, psychology, and metaphysics to help you grow, inspiring stories from me and from others who've transformed their lives and embraced their full selves. And if you've listened to me before, you know I believe in empowered action. So, empowered action to help you move from dreaming to doing with clarity and confidence. This is more than just a podcast, it's a space for transformation, empowerment, and connection. If you're ready to move beyond the nudge of intuition and into your fullest expression, well, I believe you're in the right place. So let's get started. Your best you is waiting beyond the nudge. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to episode 4. Gosh, we're at episode 4 already. And I'm learning so much as I'm doing these. Had a bit of some technical difficulties, and I finally managed to work those out. So I'm really, really pleased to be sharing this episode with you. And as I said before, the theme for this month is Love Without Limits. And as we really look at this theme, I wanted to bring in this aspect of parental wounds, the parental wounds we carry, because that can have an effect on how we give and receive love and our perceptions of love. And I don't want you to think that this is an opportunity, I'm taking an opportunity to beat up on parents. This is not the space for that. This is the space of compassion with no judgment. I really just want us to look at our wounds very differently and perceive our past in an empowering way, in a way that's based on love and not judgment, and really taking the opportunity to really see ourselves and our parents in a different way. And ultimately, at the end of this episode, I really want us to not only be acknowledging and coming to face our wounds, but also to realize that our experiences have shaped us and given us incredible ways of adapting to our world and gifts, the gifts that we now give willingly and share with the world. And in many ways, our wounding has given us a way of showing up in the world that allows us to be of service. And so I want us to really sink into that and begin to embody those understandings as well. So we will be talking about parental wounds, but we will end today's broadcast with parental gifts as well. So, what do I mean by parental wounds? Well, some parental wounds can show up because of emotional neglect that maybe we've experienced in our childhood that has left us feeling unseen or unheard or unimportant. A lot of times you could get triggered by people where you feel that they're not listening to you and you feel unseen or invisible. And that could have come about as a result of just some emotional neglect or absence in childhood. And sometimes if love was conditional, love was conditional based on how you performed or what you gave or how you behaved in the home. You may have grown up thinking that you had to act in a certain way or behave in a certain way or give in a certain way, show up in a certain way, making yourself small or just being an incredible caretaker to a parent. Being an overachiever comes from this space as well. And, we're talking about, conditional love, emotional neglect, and, parental wounds can also show up in spaces where parents could have been overly critical or maybe have had unrealistic expectations about your capabilities and about how you were showing up in the world. And if a parent is overly critical, you can begin to take that in for yourself and be overly critical with yourself or overly critical with others, setting unrealistic expectations of yourself and of others. And if you have had to take on the adult role too early in your home and you experienced parentification, it could mean that you don't know what your space is. You don't understand where your joy might be, what your own goals might be, what your vision could be, because you are too busy kind of taking care of that parent, that caregiver in your home. Perhaps you have experienced feelings of abandonment or inconsistent emotional care in the home because of maybe some unresolved trauma in the parent. It doesn't mean that that parent didn't love you. It just means that they were possibly incapable of addressing your emotional needs. And it could leave you feeling that love has this tendency to not show up or to show up inconsistently. And so you have been left with the feeling that love is temporary or love is inconsistent, or if I allow myself to be open to love, that could also mean abandonment as well. So you could want to maybe take a step back and say, well, I don't really want to be involved in this process because it's too painful. And suppose, this is one that's a bit familiar to me personally, emotional over reliance on a child or enmeshment can leave a child feeling like their parent lacks boundaries. So they end up not knowing how to set boundaries. Their boundary setting is quite poor because there was no room for boundaries. And when a child has a parent that is overly reliant on a child, they almost take on the role of an adult or that parent's partner, that parent's friend too early. And the roles get really blurred. And it's hard for the child to sort of trust, well, am I a caregiver or am I a child? Is this person looking after me? So it can leave them feeling unstable, possibly unsafe. And so maybe you've experienced that as well. And so there are many ways that parental wounds can show up in our childhood. And it can also mean that, as we go out into the world, we say we want healthy relationships, we say that we want love, but quite often we are picking relationships that are familiar to us. So we end up picking relationships that mirror those childhood experiences. So if you had a feeling of inconsistent love, or maybe having to be a certain way, or to give a certain way, or achieve in a certain way, then the way that you express love in partnership may mean that you pick someone who's emotionally unavailable, or someone who shows up intermittently and gives that message of inconsistent love, ghosts you or abandons you. And you begin to say, well, why do I keep picking these same people over and over and over again? And it's because the nervous system is looking for familiarity. The nervous system equates familiarity with safety. And so, even though we know we want these healthy relationships, we are wired to pick what is familiar to us. And so it can show up in a number of different ways. So, we go for what's familiar. So emotionally unavailable partners, partners who can be overly critical, um, partners who require us to give before they give to us. And so we can begin to see these patterns as we strive for a relationship, but ultimately what we're asking for is familiarity because that feels safe to us. So we have to begin to see and understand the pattern of our choices. Maybe we struggle with emotional intimacy or fears of abandonment or rejection. And we don't know why, right? We want to put ourselves out there, but there's just something that's holding us back. Or maybe we're in partnership with someone, but we have really struggled to express what we need and how we feel because we didn't have that experience. We didn't have that foundational experience when we were growing up. Maybe you're a people pleaser, or you overcompensate and you give and you give and you give to the point of exhaustion. And I bring all of these up because I feel it's important for us to understand where it comes from, recognizing the patterns that we may have in our own lives in partnerships or even in parenting. Quite often when we have children, then we can begin to see, how these patterns begin to emerge and we get triggered by certain things or we have certain feelings coming up and we don't understand why. And it's because that inner child that experienced those things when we were a child, maybe our own children when they are those same ages, it triggers something in us. So it can also have an impact on how we parent. Suppose, we haven't acknowledged our inner child, we haven't acknowledged those wounds, so we can begin to repeat these harmful patterns that have been lived maybe through generations. Maybe we overcorrect our children, or maybe when a child is expressing a completely healthy emotional need, we feel incapable of meeting that, matching that, holding that space for that child because, it wasn't a safe place for us. It wasn't a place where, our needs were being met on an emotional level. Maybe we have trouble setting boundaries or disciplining our child or even giving that affection. It's really understanding how this may show up. But I want to just say to you, all hope is not lost, right? All hope is not lost. And I want to congratulate you on being the cycle breaker. If you're listening to this and you're taking it in and you're beginning to think, okay, well, I can begin to see where my patterns originated, and I can also begin to see how they are manifesting in my adult relationships with my friends, with my partners, with my children, my family. You are the cycle breaker. Nothing can be healed unless it is brought to the surface and acknowledged. And so you are here at this time, in this moment, to say, "Do you know what? I think this stops with me." So, as the cycle breaker, I want to say congratulations because you are taking some incredible first steps. And we can break these cycles and really begin to take, ownership and take responsibility for our own healing so that we can fully embrace our gifts as we step into our annual theme, our theme for this year, which is the year of significance. And I want you to have incredibly healthy and happy and love filled relationships. And we can do this by really releasing everything that is preventing us from being the fullness of love. And so, cycle breaker, I'm celebrating you. And in order to do that, first of all, as I said, we need to recognize patterns where they originate and how they're manifesting in our lives right now. we get to, as our adult selves, take responsibility. So it's first of all acknowledging that inner child, taking responsibility right now as the informed adult, that it stops with you, asking that place inside of you, that inner child, where it hurts. Where does it hurt? How can I help you? And really addressing that space, addressing that inner child and understanding what it needs from you. And as we, make contact with the inner child and we understand where it hurts and what it needs and how it feels, and we begin to embody that space of healing, then we can introduce a daily practice of emotionally attuning. So when things happen, we become more informed about how we can navigate our emotional world so that we become less reactionary and more observing and patient and calm. Because these emotions won't necessarily be these overarching triggers like they are now. And so I want to share with you just a lovely practice for your inner child to begin to understand where these wounds may originate from and how to make peace with them so that we can move into a space of embracing all of the gifts that you have been given, activating those gifts that you have learned through these behaviors and experiences. So, if you're at home, you may want to pause the recording wherever you're listening, or if you're watching a video, you may want to pause here and grab some paper, some pens, some pencils, different colors, whatever you enjoy. So, grabbing some paper, some pens, pencils, markers, wherever, and then coming back. Okay, so welcome back. And so before we begin this process, I'd like for you to just find a comfortable space and just feel into your body. You may want to place your hand on your heart, your hand on your belly, or both hands on your heart, whatever resonates with you the most. And then just relaxing in this space that you feel safe in, you feel comfortable in. And then just breathing, just breathing. I'd like to invite you to take a deep breath in and breathing out. Take a deep breath in, breathing out. And one more deep breath in. And breathing out. And then noticing how your body is feeling, and if you can invite yourself to just let go and to relax a little bit more into this space. And then just giving yourself time to remember. Remember yourself as a child. And there may be a an age that comes up quite often when you take yourself back. If you rewind the clock, and if you rewind the clock, taking yourself back to a time in your childhood You can begin to imagine the age, maybe what you're wearing, your environment, so where you are, who you're with, who is surrounding you, what is happening around you, how you are reacting to your environment, and how you feel in this space. So giving yourself just a few moments to bring that closer to your awareness, bringing that into your memory. And perhaps you're good with visualization so you can see it clearly. Or maybe it's more of a feeling for you. However, it begins to arise in your awareness, it is perfect. So you don't need to force it, just allow it to come to you with ease. And as you begin to see yourself, maybe what you're wearing, where you are, who you're with, where you are, what is happening, what you are doing, how you are feeling, I'd like for you to make this more vivid if you can. Maybe brighten the colors, maybe make it a little bit more vivid. Not too vivid. I just want you to be able to see as much detail as you possibly can. And then I would like for you to freeze everything around you. So your inner child, your small you, your young you, just freezing the environment around them so that the only thing that is able to move and talk and interact with you is your small you, your inner child, your young you. Just acknowledging them, letting them know that you've come back to spend some time with them, just them. And then take a deep breath in, letting them know that you will be back very, very shortly. Taking a deep breath out, release, and then bringing your awareness back to the space. And then grabbing your pens and pencils, and then just start to draw. Just start to draw anything that you saw or experienced or felt in that memory, in that scene, or in that picture. And just get as much down as you possibly can on your paper. No judgment, no criticism. I want you to just be free flowing with this. So use as many colors as you like. Use the whole space, use the whole page, or use a little bit of the page. It doesn't matter. Just take as much time as you need to draw your picture, capturing the kind of feel of the inner child and the environment that he or she is in. And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. So you can pause the recording or video here. Okay, so welcome back. So now that you have your drawing, you have your inner child, where they are, maybe who's around them, their environment. I want you to now begin to look, really look and interpret your drawing. Where are they placed on the page? What is around them? Who is around them? What colors have you used? And as you look at your picture, what's the feeling of it? Does it feel uplifting? Or does it feel a little bit, foreboding? Or does it feel open? Does it feel constricted? Just notice the feeling of the picture. And then you can begin to now have a conversation. So, understanding, first of all, how it's making you feel, what is coming up for you as you look at this. You can begin to see the environment that the child is living in. And then you, as the informed adult, can then start to have a conversation with them. So, first of all, acknowledging them, introducing yourself to them. You've come back to them to really understand and acknowledge and how they feel. So, introduce yourself to them. How are they doing? How are they feeling? What's making them feel this way? Is there anything that they want to share with you about how they're feeling? Anything that they've been holding back? What is it they really, really want to say? If they could say absolutely anything, and then ask them what they need. What do they need from you in order to feel better, in order to feel more acknowledged, more accepted, whatever it is that they're looking to feel? Just begin to have a conversation with them, allowing them to fully express everything that they want to express to you. And then after that is done, and you can take some time to write in your journal, your diary, or even draw more, whatever resonates with you as you talk to your inner child. Letting them know at the end of this process that you've heard them, and that, whatever it is that they say that they need, that you will do your absolute best to give that to them. So perhaps it's more play. Perhaps it's, standing up for them. Perhaps it's rest. Whatever it is, whatever that inner child needs, whatever that space in you needs, can you now give that version of you your commitment to give them what they need? And as you begin to then have this time with your inner child, you can begin to embody that need and that desire and your commitment to basically almost parent yourself in this way, giving yourself what you needed, and giving it to you right now. So you can begin that process by then placing your hand on your heart, both hands on your heart, or one hand on your belly, and then saying to that part, I have heard you. I acknowledge you. And I give you love and acceptance. And I commit to your healing now. I hear you. I acknowledge you. I give you love and acceptance. And I commit to your healing now. You can breathe and then end that process. And you can do that as much as you like. Maybe you don't even need the drawing. You could just go in and have a conversation with that space in you. I often say that, adults are little children wearing adult suits, adult skin suits, right? We walk around as if we are all knowing and we kind of get ourselves, but many times we are acting from this place subconsciously. And the more that we can bring this kind of wounding and healing to the surface, to be fully acknowledged, we equip ourselves to have more fulfilling, loving, and healthy relationships with our families, with our partners, and with our children. And once you've taken yourself through that, then you're able to equip yourself with emotional attuning as you go throughout your day, because you won't be as triggered. Things won't sort of, tweak you, really kind of upset you, because you will be more emotionally attuned. And so when you are triggered by something, you can begin to take a step back and say, breathe, hold on. Okay, so where is this coming from? What does this part of me need? And can I give this part of me what it's most seeking, so that I can bring myself back into wholeness emotionally in this moment. Because then, as we do, the more we're able to do that, then we're able to really see and celebrate all of the gifts that we have learned. And it's become a part of us because of these experiences. So, if you've had parents where you've had to navigate emotional instability, well, perhaps you've learned how to be a survivor. Perhaps you have learned how to be resilient. And the more that you tend to your emotional needs and bring yourself back into balance, you're moving from survival into thriving. And maybe that's what you're here to share in being of service. You could be a great problem solver and someone that people rely on in times of stress or challenges because you just know how to calm yourself and move through the challenges. So you could be great in a crisis. You're able to hold emotional strength in difficult moments. So maybe you can say, oh, actually, I did have these experiences, but it's made me this. It has made me this version, and I'm going to celebrate that. And so maybe you can say to yourself, I release the need to survive in this way, and I honor the strength that I built as I thrive. I release the need to survive in this way, and I honor the strength that I have built as I thrive. Or perhaps you have parents who struggled with their own wounds, and you had to hold space for them because their little child wasn't able to hold space for themselves. And so you became a great space holder. You became the kind of person who can really make people feel held and heard and acknowledged. You hold space for people's emotions because they may struggle to hold them for themselves. And you may have been the kind of person that can sense other people's needs, deeply empathetic, able to really follow their intuition because you have this sensitivity to how people feel, and you're compassionate. And that's a wonderful thing to have when you want to be of service, especially as a healer, a therapist, a coach, whatever that is. Those are incredible skills to have for these ways of being in service in the world. And so you can say to yourself, well, okay, I did experience this with my parents, but actually it's fully trained me and equipped me to be this amazing healer or therapist or coach or psychotherapist because I have been trained. I understand on a cellular level how to be there for people. So maybe you can say to yourself, I release the need to take on others' burdens, and I show empathy while holding healthy boundaries. I release the need to take on others' burdens, and I show empathy while holding healthy boundaries. Perhaps you've experienced parents who have actively are experiencing their own wounds, and you've taken a step back and you've watched them, and so you became really reflective. You watched and you understood that they were acting, even though they loved you, they were acting from a place of their own wounding. And so it sent you on this journey of, well, I don't want this to be the way that I carry this forward. So you became consciously the cycle breaker. And you said, well, I want to understand more about how I can heal myself. And you've gone down this road of self-discovery and healing for yourself and therapy and personal development and personal growth. And I celebrate you because you wanted to bring yourself into greater self awareness so that you weren't repeating patterns. And you created great boundaries because you want, healthy relationships where you can experience the fullness of love and you prioritize deep emotional connection because you want that healthy emotional connection. So maybe you can say to yourself, I transform pain into wisdom and I honor my journey as the cycle breaker. I transform pain and wisdom into wisdom, and I honor my journey as the cycle breaker. Or maybe your parents relied, you had to rely on yourself emotionally because maybe your parent or guardian was emotionally unavailable and you had to become strong and independent and self-sufficient. And so now maybe that's showing up as this incredible drive to push forward, this incredible drive for success. Maybe you're a great leader, and that comes as a result of you really having to lead yourself. And so you walk through the world and you navigate your world with confidence and with self assuredness, and you really trust your gut instinct and your feeling, and you pursue your goals and you listen to your inner voice. And so I want to say thank you for showing up as an incredible leader. And it's wonderful to be able to acknowledge, you know, where you have come from, but where you are now as well. And so maybe you can say to yourself, I allow myself to receive love and support, and I honor my independence. I allow myself to receive love and support, and I honor my independence. Because when we begin to reframe our previous experiences as gifts, we begin to define ourselves not from victimhood, but from a sense of thriving and wholeness, seeing ourselves for who we truly are and not taking who we are, those parts of us, for granted because it's made us who we are today. So I hope that you have found that incredibly helpful. I want us to be able to acknowledge and recognize the strengths that we have and that we hold, and understanding that, they may come from, yes, the depths of us, but they may come from the depths of us because of our experiences. And it's about acknowledging with compassion both ourselves and our parents for doing the best that they could, our guardians, our caretakers, for doing the best that they could, even when they sometimes may have fallen short, doing the best that they could, and seeing them under the blanket of love, even if they have given us these experiences where we have felt emotionally wanting, but also it has equipped us to really step forward and be the leaders that we need to be at this time in our world, because the world needs you. The world needs the fullness of you. The world needs all of you, especially, the unlimited loving version of you. So I want to thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining me on this fourth episode of Beyond the Nudge. I have felt really inspired in bringing this information to you. It's a deep part of my work, and I want to thank you for being here. And I want to thank you for taking that bold next step into your year of significance. Remember, this is just the beginning. We have so much more to explore together over this coming year. Be sure to tune into the next episode where we will dive into loving unconditionally and loving abundantly. Loving unconditionally and really what that means. It's one that you won't want to miss. Before we wrap up, I'd love to share two causes that are close to my heart. I proudly support Women for Women International an incredible organization empowering women in war-torn countries to rebuild their lives, and Mantle of Hope in northern Uganda, a charity offering hope and support to the victims of sex trafficking and domestic violence. If you're moved to make a difference, I sincerely encourage you to learn more about their transformative work and to consider joining me in supporting them. Thank you for being here and joining me on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and please share this episode with someone who could use a little nudge of their own. Because remember, your best you is waiting beyond the nudge.